Anandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvaditam Gagana Sadrisham Attvamasya Dilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhaditam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Nithyanandam, welcome each and every one of you joining us, sitting with us here today on Nithyananda TV, Kailasa official TV channel. Swamiji, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagat Guru Mahasanidanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Shri Nithyananda Paramashivam, has taken up the enormous responsibility of reviving Hinduism. For the past 26 years, Swamiji has been actively working to create a Hindu nation, Kailasa, for this very purpose, to revive and give Hinduism the legitimacy it needs. As part of the revival of the Sanatana Hindu Dharma, Swamiji has been bringing back, not only reviving, but practicing all these customs, these traditions, ancient practices which happened in the ancient days. One of them being the Vakyartha Sadhas. What is Vakyartha Sadhas? Vakyartha Sadhas is the Kandana Mandana, the breaking and expanding of logic. Having the debate and the discussion about various truths, various powerful cognitions, various concepts in Hinduism. When a truth is given by the Master, when we hear it and imbibe it from the Guru, the only 25% of actually the truth being imbibed and the essence of it getting into our system. Swamiji beautifully says during the Brahma Sutra Satsang, he gives a very beautiful analogy. He tells that the first 25% of the truth happening in you, becoming a manifestation in you, happens when we hear the truth from the Master, when we listen to the Master as he gives these truths. The second 25% happens when we do the manana, the internalizing, sitting and contemplating about these various truths. The third 25% happens when we have the Vakyartha Sadhas. Swamiji uses the word Kandana and Mandana, the breaking and expansion of the logic. That is the third 25% of imbibing the truth. And the last 25% happens when we live these principles in our life. When we start living them, not just hearing and imbibing and discussing about it, but in a day-to-day life, making this a practical applications, using them practically in our life. So totally doing all these four parts and components fully imbibes the truth into all of us. Over the past, now here, let's watch a small video. The Swamiji himself explains about the importance of the Vakyartha Sadhas. Please stay tuned.
Listen. Listen. Manana. Vakyartha Sadhas every day will give you a complete understanding. Not only that, please listen, every time when you keep these spiritual truths in your inner space, analyze them, think about them, contemplate on them, Every moment you spend on internalizing these great truths, your incompletions melt down. You are living Advaita. Understand how much ever you struggle to find the solution externally, you will never find. You will never find the solution. What you expect externally. If you think, I'll finish all the work, I took it on myself or Swamiji gave it to me, and then I'll rest in peace. Never. Even after you leave the body, we have work for you. Understand, if you are expecting the external solution, no. You need to be told you are a fool. Wherever you really need to be told you are a fool, you should be told that is the real good thing for you. If you have some disease, you need to be told you have that disease. Only then you will understand the seriousness and start taking medication. Manana, internalizing, is really, really, really important. Because the life gets aligned to living Advaita with Manana. Shankara says beautifully, Shrute Shatagunam Vidyan Mananam Mananat Abhinitidyasanam Lakshagunam Anantam Nirvigalpam. The meaning is Manana is 100 times superior to Shravana. Internalizing is 100 times superior to listening. And living is 100 times superior to internalizing. Nirvikalpa Samadhi, living Advaita, is infinitely superior. Please understand, you need to listen and internalize again and again and again. That is why I am insisting on Vakyartha Sadhas. Even if there are 2-3 sannyasis in your ashram, start the Vakyartha Sadhas. Slowly devotees will start gathering. Everywhere, in every ashram, every center, just like puja is compulsory, Vakyartha Sadhas should become compulsory. More and more learning, more and more internalizing, more and more completion. Understand, other than the spiritual solution, there is no solution. How much ever you try to find any solution for any problem, whether it is personal, professional, organizational, intrapersonal, and interpersonal. Interpersonal is direct fight. Intrapersonal is cold war. You won't fight, but you will be waiting. See, it's like directly when you fight, it becomes like an equal fight. But I have seen many cunning fellows, they won't directly fight. They will wait. At some point, they will get that neutral person position. that time they will use that position and attack. When somebody else is attacking him and he is fighting with somebody else, he is a neutral person. Now come on, use that and attack. Violence. How much ever you hide, how much ever you keep inside, and how much ever cunningly you plan, finally it is going to stink inside you, not anybody else. Whether it is interpersonal problem, intrapersonal problem, organizational problem, professional problem, or personal problem, the only way anything can be solved is spiritual solution. Vakyartha Sadhas is the best way for a spiritual solution. Discovering spiritual solution for any problem.
Yes. Swamiji beautifully explained how for any problem you're facing in your life, you will never find external solution for it. Only having the Vakyartha Sadhas again and again continuously, looking within, inside yourself, those are the only places where you'll be able to find a solution for any of your problems, be it externally, be it from a small thing that your kid is not eating his food, or be it for big problems like trying to end world hunger and trying to get world peace. For each and every external factor, external problem that we have, or that we perceive as a problem, only when we inside ourselves, when we complete it, when we change our inner space, that is when the outer space changes. So getting into the Vakyartha Sadhas for today. For the past many days, Swamiji has been very insistent on the revival of the Kailasa nation. And in his everyday satsangs, more than giving a satsang, Swamiji is focusing on building the Kailasa nation, giving the whys and hows on how we can start working even now to build the Kailasa nation. Let's go over Hindus and Hinduism and the purpose for which the Kailasa nation is being built. Hinduism is the greatest science of life, absolutely life positive. Fundamentally, Hindus don't believe in conversion or terrorism. All around the world, Hindus have proved themselves to be the most contributing communities wherever they settle. The Indian constitution is secular only to Hindus. From Paramashiva to our rishis who have given us this super conscious based lifestyle for all of us to live. As they have passed it down to us, it is our responsibility to pass it down to the next generation. Not just passing it down, but preserving and make sure there is something left even to pass it down to the next generation. That is our responsibility. As Swamiji beautifully says, making temples is great, but it is not enough. 16 times we allowed the Somnath temple in Gujarat to get destroyed. Rebuilding it the 17th time is a greatness, no doubt. But what kind of ecosystem did we have at the time which allowed the temple to be destroyed? Forget even once, but 16 times. It is from these mistakes that we should learn and reinvent ourselves to prevent such future catastrophes while building the Kailasa nation. Apart from all of this, 57% of Hindus, those who call themselves Hindus, do not take part in any Hindu activity, in any religious activity, even as simple as going to the temple. 57% of Hindus do not participate in this. So you can see here at how far low Hindus are and the faith basically they have in Hinduism. Previously, over the course of the previous Vakyartha Sadhas, we had discussed about the NRI Hindus and how they feel ashamed and embarrassed about the religion, primarily because of the lack of knowledge about their culture and without a forum for them to open up and share their fundamental questions with anyone. Whatever may be the causes for this, the solution is the same, where they need to be enriched and given the correct understandings of the whys and hows of Hinduism. We have also discussed the need of political legitimacy for Hindus and how so many of the atrocities could have been avoided if Hindus had had political legitimacy. In yesterday's Vakyartha Sadhas, we had discussed about Hindu sadhus and sannyasis who have been subjected to a special social persecution which has led and contributed to the demoralization of sadhus. Not only preventing future generations from picking up the mantle and becoming sadhus now, but allowing and giving a platform for people to kill off the existing sannyasis and sadhus. Not a single person is revolting against them, speaking up, trying to prevent this. The British, they implemented a beautiful strategy. Not a beautiful strategy, but they implemented a very cunning strategy where if you want to kill a dog, you don't go and cut off its head first. You first tell everyone that it's a mad dog. Continuously tell everyone it's a mad dog. Continuously prove to everyone why it is a mad dog, and then you chop its head off. That way, no one is there to stand up against you. No one is there to revolt against you when you cut the dog's head. It is the same way. First, they go out of the way to make sure and to tell everyone how Hindu sannyasis are mad people, why they should not exist in the first place. After that, destroying them becomes very easy. And that is exactly what is happening in the modern day to Hinduism, where not just the sannyasis, not just the our spiritual heritage, but Hinduism itself has been demoralized to such an extent where when it gets destroyed, when it gets chopped off and cut off, no one is there to stand for it. So what do we mean by social persecution? Here we have a statistics presented before us. 200 years of intense racial hatred towards Hindus. Let me just read out the article given here. The Hindus are full of disemulation and falsehood, the universal concomitants of oppression. The vices of falsehood, indeed, they carry to a height almost unexampled among the other races of men. As for religion, no people have ever drawn a more gross or disgusting pictures of the universe than what is presented in the writings of the Hindus. Very few words are required because the superiority of the Mohammedans in respect of religion is beyond all dispute. In truth, the Hindu, like the Eunuch, excels in the qualities of a slave. The Mohammedan is more manly. This is by James Mill of the seminal work, The History of British India, an intellectual leader for a generation of the East Indian Company civil servants. So this is pretty much self-explanatory. There's nothing much more I need to add, but you can see how the British, they have taken our, they have come, they have studied us, they have taken our culture, our heritage, our scriptures, and they have misrepresented it throughout the entire world, comparing our religion with other religions, and have given a statement how compared to other religions we are very undeveloped and disgusting in their own words. Moving on. The British Empire used all possible means to destroy Hindu civil and cultural institutions in order to delegitimize and demoralize the indigenous people of India so they would become slaves in their own homeland. Discriminatory laws to instill feelings of racial inferiority, engineered famines to starve natives into submission, annexed Hindu kingdoms to undermine native rule, mistranslated Hindu scriptures to instill anti-Hindu narratives, destroyed indigenous Gurukul education system, destroying the local industries and forced importation of British goods, banned Indians from owning or producing firearms. So here the list of things which have been done by the East Indian Company, by the British. After, in the previous article, we had seen how systematically, in just one such article, they have labeled us as the mad dog. And in the next slide, we're seeing here the number of things in which they have cut off our heads, cut off our different body parts, without any uproar, without any sense of an injustice happening. Once they have labeled us as a religion which does not need to exist, which is a parasite on the planet, rather than the roots and the parts which are actually contributing towards the world. Once they have labeled us as a parasite, cutting off became very easy for them. So the topic of discussion today, the topic of the Vakyartha Sadhas today, extensively discussing on the various levels of how Hindus have faced social persecution. Over the past couple of Vakyartha Sadhas, we have discussed immensely on political legitimacy, on religious legitimacy. We have even discussed on the secularism which is there, especially in India, where it's secular only to Indians and not to the other religions sharing the country. Apart from all of this, there's a very another important aspect of legitimacy, which is the social legitimacy. Thinking of it, it reminds me a lot of how high school is, where in high school everyone is given the same thing. They're given the same platform, same facilities, same education, same care. But the social hierarchy which is formed within the high school by the students themselves, that is extremely damaging, and that is the root cause of a lot of problems which we face further in our life because of how we faced during our school days, how we were treated during our school days. Hinduism more or less is in that stance. Now, all the facts, everything presented here was something of few hundred years ago. But unfortunately, with whatever has happened at that time, that effect is still very much present in the modern day, in the modern era. This led to Hindus changing their name, whether they practice another religion or not, for the sake of just fitting into society. They change their name, they change their lifestyle. And fundamentally, they may even change their faiths and might even start visiting other religious monasteries and complexes. All this is the result of the social illegitimacy which has happened to Hinduism, where Hindus feel ashamed and embarrassed about their own religion to practice it very openly and very publicly. So the topic of discussion today, the question which we are being faced with today is, how has this evolved, the social illegitimacy of Hinduism, and what are the ways in which we can break and bring Hindus, instill the pride of Hinduism in Hindus. That is the topic of discussion for today, the topic of Vakyartha Sadhas for today. Before we enter into the Vakyartha Sadhas, we have a few devotees who are joining us today on the panel for the Vakyartha Sadhas. Apart from myself, my name is Shri Mangalananda. I'm a Bal Center of Nithyananda Gurukul. I joined Gurukul back in 2012, and prior to that, I was born and raised in NRI myself, living in the United States. We also have devotees sitting with us around the world. We have Ranoshan, Edmund, Sri Nithyananda, Sri Nithyananda, all three of them joining us from Canada. We also have Sanjay ji joining us from London, Sanjay Vikarya. So I'd like to thank all four of you for coming and being a part of the Vakyartha Sadhas today. So before we enter, why don't we just go around once and allow everyone to introduce themselves for our viewers today. We can start with Sri Nithyananda. Please go ahead.
As mentioned by Mangala Maharaj, was born in Canada. I studied mechanical engineering and finance, partially. I was also, as I was younger, very involved in sports and physical activity, which led me to learn and get interested into martial arts, which then led me to living abroad for 2 years, and then facing the life crisis where feeling that something is missing, that there's a lack of fulfillment, and there doesn't seem any way which could bridge the gap other than meditation. So at that point, I was introduced to Swamiji by my mother, and one thing leading to another, I decided to go to India, and I got very inspired about the lifestyle of sannyas, of brahmacharya. So knowing that Swamiji was offering a training for those to experience the lifestyle and see if they felt connected to this lifestyle. So I joined, and in 2014 I got initiated into Krama Brahmacharya, and since then have been listening, contemplating, and living the various powerful cognitions which Swamiji has initiated me and each disciple and devotee into. And it's a very fulfilling journey, intense, but it's real. And because of the realness of it, it's very fulfilling. So yes, thank you very much for having me today. I'm very happy to be part of this Vakyartha Sadhas and looking forward to share and listen to whatever is going to be shared. Thank you. Nityanandam.
Nithyanandam, Shri Nithyananda Paramashivam. Yes, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Everyone, pleasure to be here. Thank you. Yes, my name is Shri Nithyananda Paramashivam. I'm an initiated disciple of Bhagavad Nityananda Paramashivam. Also have been blessed with a spiritual name. And yeah, I grew up in Canada, became a computer engineering technologist and elementary school teacher. Worked in more than 30 schools with more than 100 teachers in several countries around the world. And I've been involved in the education field and teaching yoga, meditation, life solutions for the past 20 years. When I was in those fields of computers and economics, I had a lot of questions about where the country was headed, where our children were headed, what the influences were on them: television, food, media, failing social structures, divorce, broken families, alcohol, food addictions, violence, and became concerned about future and what to do for children and what to do for adults. Adults leaving the home, going for work, to work for money, to provide a future for their kids. But when their kids became 30, 40 years old, they were realizing the kids were getting in the same problems. And both generations were getting depressed, realizing they didn't have solutions. And complaints about political structure and the direction of finances and financial support was not providing solutions. So this was becoming clear over several decades that the society itself didn't have solutions, parents didn't have solutions, children were under attack from a sort of invisible enemy, and we needed to find something more useful. So throughout my 8 years of post-secondary study, I realized that there was no one in those genres that had a solution also. People could teach about chemistry and mathematics and astrology, astronomy, but being able to live, what is the purpose of your life, why you're here, what are the challenges humanity faces, how to come out of it, how to teach it, how to make sure that people get it. There was no discussion about that, and when there was just an absolute dearth of absence of knowledge, education, study, even questioning about the topic of why we have life, what it is, and how to ensure fulfilling life for everyone. That topic didn't even exist. So that led to a search of religions and spirituality, and found Swamiji on YouTube in 2008. I got initiated and recognized the solution and experienced the solution through inner awakening in 2009. So since then, I've been applying. I've been living the path of sort of a spiritual practitioner without a financial income since 2011, living proof that you can live without money in a blissful way, and travel around the world for a decade doing it. So an unbelievable way to live without stress and worry. So that's what we're involved in proving is possible for everyone. So thank you to Swamiji, thank you everyone. Nityananda.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Sanjeev Vikarya joining us from London. Please go ahead. Introduce yourself for all of us.
Nithyananda. Everybody, my name is Sanjay and I'm from London in the UK. By profession, I run a software business in the field of data analysis and insights. And outside of my profession, I'm married with 2 young boys also. So as a very short history, I was born into a Hindu Swaminarayan family, but most of my Hinduism growing up was very much about just following habitual process, doing certain things, attending the mandirs, but not really having a complete understanding of why all of that was there. And then quite soon after I had children, that's when something happened where a sincere seeking developed to learn much more about Hinduism. And it was thankfully at that point that Swamiji came or happened in my life. So I've been a devotee since about 2016, and it's now that with great bliss that I'm able to call myself a practicing Hindu and enjoy all the possibilities that come with the relationship with Guru. Just finally to thank you again for this opportunity to be involved with Vakyartha Sadhas today. It's always a very enriching and reflective experience. So thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us here today. Yeah. Next, we also have Ranoshan Edmund joining us from Canada. Please go ahead and introduce yourself for all of us.
Nithyanandam. My name is Ranoshan Edmund and I'm from Toronto, Canada. I've known Swamiji since around 2013. And actually, just one quick little thing about this is, it's actually Ashutosh mentioned the one thing about this experiencing reality. And really, this is really one of the biggest clicks that I had since living with Swamiji, basically. Having Swamiji in my life is really, you touch the, it might be a little bit weird way to phrase it, but the reality of reality. And really, maybe I had, like before getting to know Swamiji, I might have had some idea of Hinduism and all these things. But after getting to know Swamiji and really listening to Swamiji's Satsangs, cherishing the powerful cognitions, you really start to see what the reality is. The whole social stigma about basically the whole Hinduism, the whole narrative that's been made about Hinduism actually drops itself and you start to see Hinduism as it is, the reality of Hinduism and the reality of reality itself. And then after this, actually life becomes a totally different kind of juice. And so, yeah, it's just this whole experience with Swamiji has been really just this really experiencing reality for the sake of reality. And so, yes, with this, I'd like to just thank you all for giving me the opportunity to join the Vakyartha Sadhas today on NTV. Nithyanandam.
Thank you so much, Ranoshan, for joining us here today. And we also have Muraliya joining us from Chennai. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Yeah. Could you please go ahead and take a few moments to introduce yourself for all of us?
Thank you, Maharaj. This is Murali from Chennai. I'm a teacher and a trainer by profile. My getting introduced to Swamiji was quite a very interesting affair, I should tell you. I was a very proud intellectual kind of person. I used to pride myself in saying that I could judge anybody, anything in a very short time, very quickly and accurately at that. And still, something was not happening. The settling in the career, as the middle class used to normally call, was not happening, and I couldn't understand where things were heading, why things were not settling. In spite of being so great, myself being so great, my logic being so good and all that. And it was then that my brother sent me to Swamiji. He said, until you stop asking questions, you will not get answers. And I questioned that also. How can I get answers without asking questions? And he only repeated what he said. Just stop asking questions and you get answers. So it was out of pure curiosity I came to meet Swamiji. And I realized that he was right. Only if I stop asking questions, I do get answers. And what that is actually an experience. If I have to put it in words, I have to say that one has to listen more than one has to talk or think more. Listen with a totally blank mind, and in Swamiji's terms, in total complete completion. So it was then many things happened, many clicks happened, and a lot of miracles have happened since my being with Swamiji back then. I was connected with Swamiji from 2013, and it somehow seems to me that I had been connected with Swamiji even before that, but I'm not able to concretely explain why I feel that. 2013 was when I came to meet Swamiji for a major program, Awakening, but somehow I feel that I had seen Swamiji before. I don't know why I get this feeling. And it's that experience itself, the feeling that I had been with him before also is very sweet. And many miracles have happened ever since I've got connected with him. And one major click that I got with Swamiji, being with him, is the human logic is way too small, shallow, narrow a context to judge, to understand what Swamiji is teaching us. So if one has to, this is my personal experience and earnest request to anybody who looks at Swamiji in newly, like from on, I'll say the human mental logic is a very shallow, narrow context with which to judge, understand what Swamiji is teaching us from in its entire dimension. So how exactly this means, what exactly this means, maybe I'll answer in further questions, in answer to further questions or as the discussion ensures. As of now, I will occupy no more my time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Yeah. So, let's enter into the Vakyartha Sadhas now. Let me just go ahead and repeat the question. Social legitimacy of Hinduism. How systematically our social legitimacy has been destroyed. How even though the effect what the British had done so many hundreds of years ago, how that is still very much affecting us modern Hindus even now in society today. And how is it that we can reinstill the pride of Hinduism into Hindus today? Previously, we had gone over multiple facts and multiple ways the British had induced this social legitimacy, social illegitimacy into all of us, into Hinduism. And how even now, in society outside, Hindus are ashamed and embarrassed about their religion. Let us sit and do the Purva Paksha, the finding out the reasons for this and how we can change it, how we can reinstill the pride of Hinduism into Hindus. Let's go ahead and listen to Ranoshan Edmund now, share his opinions and his views about this. Please go ahead, Aya.
Nithyanandam. And so, yes, it's this thing of, the social legitimacy of not just the Sannyas Sampradaya, but the whole Hinduism is at a certain space. There's certain narratives, things like the caste system, what is a sadhu, how the whole ecosystem of India is, and like how Hinduism is. There's different ideas and narratives about Hinduism that's basically portrayed. And then the world looks at Hinduism as, oh, Hinduism means this, Hinduism means that. And then it starts getting delved into these things without actually going into these specifics. And really, I'm seeing that a lot of this has to do with exactly what Swamiji's sharing, where we should stop being reluctant warriors. See, in Hinduism, the concept of being a warrior is not that we go all out and the violence and all these things, no. The concept of being a warrior is about expressing the heart, actually. See, the space of warrior, especially in Hinduism, how Ranoshan cognizes, is the powerfulness of the heart dimension. The powerfulness of being able to express yourself as it is and being able to protect your ecosystem and actually express your ecosystem. Really being able to express your truth with the sword of Satya. And actually, Satya is directly connected to the heart. Compromising on Satya, actually even physically, the heart starts to, It has a physical impact on the heart when you start to compromise. See, even on an emotional or like on the psychological standpoint, we can understand this, where we feel we have a certain way that we can live. We feel that, I feel this about me. But then when we go out into the world, either in the social situation or any kind of situation, we feel like we have to compromise for one reason or another. We have to compromise on our truth. And then this actually changes our own inner image. We're literally reducing ourselves for the sake of, ultimately we're reducing ourselves for no good reason. We can't really justify it. And so the space of being a warrior in Hinduism, how our notion cognizes, is dropping the compromising on Satya. Not compromising on Satya and actually living the truth, living the Nididhyasana of Hinduism, really expressing Hinduism as it is. Means what? It means being a catalyst for others' reality. It means being completely life positive, contributing, expressing ahimsa. And I feel that really to restore this narrative and really to restore this social legitimacy of Hindus, the social legitimacy of the Sanya Sampradaya is to actively enrich, actively engage with life, actively contribute. And actually the amazing thing is with Shri Kailasa, this is exactly what we're doing. We're giving the world the best of what we have. We're giving the world the power manifestation sciences. We're giving the world Unclutching, the Mahavakya. And even these, we're opening complete sessions per region and every time zone. We're opening sessions for morning yoga. We'll wake you up at 5 a.m. for the morning yoga. And even if you don't wake up, no problem. We'll wake you up again the next day and the next day. We won't give up on you. This is the space of Hinduism. But it's not the narrative of Hinduism right now. Their narrative of Hinduism is completely something else. So the space we're actively enriching to restore the narrative of Hinduism, to see, you know what, no, Hindus are not the way we thought. They're actually very active. They're not lazy. They're not just in one corner. The sadhus aren't just in one corner meditating in a cave. No, they're very intensely active and engaging and always there to help you. Actually, the Sanya Sampradaya becomes the fallback of society. Right now, the fallback is mostly what? Moving on to junk foods or entertainment or movies, these kinds of things. Whenever we go into a low mood, we fall onto these things as a comfort. But in Hinduism, our fallback is always going to the space where the enlightenment is happening. Whenever we experience some low in our life, immediately we go to Guru. We go to a sadhu in our village or community and ask them for the truth. Ask them, hey, this is a situation that's happening and I need something. I don't know what, but you know me better than I know me, this space. This was the fallback of Hinduism, or I guess I can say the Hindu ecosystem. The whole narrative of Hinduism was about being life positive and reestablishing yourself back in this space of enlightenment, back in the space of powerfulness, back in the space of Satya. And so really the main thing that we need to do here is continuing to contribute to Shri Kailasa. Shri Kailasa as an ecosystem is literally reviving the Hindu narrative, bringing back the social legitimacy in every angle, contributing left and right, giving life positive solutions. Everything that we're doing is actually, especially in this COVID time, especially during this lockdown time, as we're seeing in the world around us, things are going a certain way. I won't comment about this, but things are going a certain way. But the world now more than ever needs a life positive solution. It needs a new kind of fallback because you can't keep going back on the fallback that we had. The fallback that we had is a lot of the reason why we're in the situation that we're in now. So really, just to wrap this point up, is I feel the best way to really restore the social legitimacy of Hinduism, the social legitimacy of the Sanya Sampradaya, is to continue to actively contribute to Shri Kailasa and to really stop being a reluctant warrior, to stand for Hinduism, be bold, be unabashedly Hindu, be proud about being Hindu. We're an age-old science. We're a higher science. We've been here for yugas. There's nothing to be ashamed about. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. This whole pralaya, we've been through pralaya after pralaya. We know the science of pralaya. We know how to go in, go through it smoothly and come back out. It's a science. So just this thing of stop being a reluctant warrior. Life as it is. So the whole thing comes down to when life sees you as it is, that's how life will actually enjoy you. See, maybe phrasing is a little bit weird, but basically this whole space where when we really start to express ourselves as we are, the social legitimacy automatically comes to a certain balance. Only when we start being reluctant, hesitant, and all these things, then we can basically, how to say, different parties can start putting different narratives because we're not speaking, because we're not saying anything, because we're not expressing. But the moment we start talking, the moment we start expressing, the moment we stop compromising and stop being hesitant, then naturally life sees that as it is. Life starts to really see Hinduism as it is. The social legitimacy aspect really comes back when we start to speak, when we start to be active. This is really what it comes down to. And so, yes.
Thank you so much, Ranushan. So he brought up a very beautiful point. Swamiji the other day in Satsangs had told that basically we just need to shed our reluctantness and be real warriors for Hinduism. Swamiji is already doing the job of bringing social legitimacy to Hinduism. And one of the best ways of helping and us on our part contributing towards that is to support and contribute towards the Kailasa nation. If you take all fields, be it medically, technologically, politically, economically, we are always there at the top in all the fields. And this itself speaks for how, this itself is self-explanatory, which speaks on how capable we all are. And regardless of being robbed of our spiritual strength and emotional strength, and being robbed of so many things which belong to us, we still stand tall and we still are the best in today's society. Just giving this cognition shift into everyone and telling Hindus that after being robbed of so many things, we are still one of the best people of modern day. Bring that understanding into them and telling them that without all of this, if you are so big, then when you have all of this, how great will you actually be? It is this fundamental cognition shift which all of them need to have. And Swamiji is doing that cognition shift through the Kailasa nation, through the Nitya Satsangs every day. And from our part, contributing towards the Kailasa nation and helping Swamiji in his mission is one of the best ways to bring back social legitimacy towards Hinduism. Thank you so much, Ranushan, for sharing. Next, let's move on to Shri Nithyananda Paramashivam. Please go ahead, Aya.
Nithyananda Maharaj, thank you. Yes, thank you, Ranushan, for all that. So yeah, just looking at the social illegitimacy, how Hinduism became socially illegitimate and what to do about it. One of the things is, even if I mean, there's a long history, of course, if we go back to Bhagavad Gita and what Shri Krishna was dealing with, so much negativity and needing to remove the ability for the negativity through physical violence to destroy the planet. So this kind of self-destruction through the destructive unconscious habits of humanity is not new. So it's something that happens again and again. But in more recent history, yeah, how has it become socially illegitimate to become a Hindu? By the estimates written in the Farishtas and the histories of Mughal invaders, such as Aurangzeb and others, Vakyartha Khilji and Alauddin Khilji, they will document as many as 100,000 Hindus being killed on a certain afternoon, or converted, or taken as prisoners. It's sort of bragged about in their own documents. So, by their own estimates, the population of Hindus was reduced by 400 million in the time frame of 1,000 years. So, and extrapolating that to the current day, 500 million Hindus have been persecuted, raped, and killed in the past 1,000 years. So that will destroy your social legitimacy. You know, when it's not safe to walk down the street, when your temples are destroyed, and I mean, moving to modern day, it's illegal to teach Hinduism in public schools. Like living in Canada, where there's approximately 30 million adults here,